Hello, everyone. My name is Kristin Ciliberto, and welcome to Film Fest Report. I'm here today to share with you an exclusive interview with director Adam Elliott, who is behind the documentary short film, David Again. It had its New York premiere at the Tribeca Film Festival that tells the story of David Dennis, his road to recovery from drug and alcohol addiction, and his lifelong friendship with Jon Cryer. I got to speak with Adam a couple days ago, and we discussed on why this film is so important, so please enjoy our interview. So Adam, congratulations on all the hard work. You made it a successful short film, I must say, that focuses on a important subject matter and at a serious subject. So I gotta ask, how do you know David, and how did you get him to open up, and how did you get Jon onboarded for this film?
Yeah, so David and I were next door neighbors in Inwood, where I live in Upper Manhattan. And when I first met him, I was just really taken by his just how nice he was to me all the time as we were passing each other in the halls. As neighbors in New York, you don't always get to know each other, but one day I saw David standing outside our building. He was wearing one of his suits, and I stopped my bike and I got off and I took his picture, which I asked him, I was like, David, can I take your picture? And he was like, yeah, sure. And I never do that, but I did. And then he just started, we started talking, he started opening up to me, and he kind of just told me his entire life story. And I was really taken by it. And whenever someone is, whenever someone is opening up to me, it's kind of dangerous, because as a filmmaker, my next question might be, can I interview you?
Yeah.
So I asked him that, and he said yes. And as I was leaving that conversation, I remember saying to him, by the way, has anyone ever made a movie about you? Because I just thought, this guy's so unique. Maybe someone else got to him before me. And he said, well, something like that. But when you come over, I'll tell you more about it. And I kind of forgot about that. But when I went over to interview him for the first time, which was really focusing more on his addiction and recovery, which is what he had opened up to me about, I saw all these pictures of him and Jon Cryer in his apartment. I said, how do you know Jon Cryer? And at that point, he told me about his lifelong friendship with Jon, and how he had been an early inspiration in Jon's career, an early inspiration of the character of Ducky from Pretty in Pink, and that there had been a film that was made about their friendship that Jon wrote and produced. And I thought that was just a really beautiful thing about this friendship, and I thought that was well worth documenting as well. So that's how it all kind of got started.
It's an important story of friendship and just the struggles, because that's what I noticed in this short time that we get to understand David as a person. So based on that, it wasn't difficult for him to open up at all. But going through the documentary and just based on research for this film, unfortunately, David passed away, which is really sad to know. So did he get to see any of the footage before of his passing?
Yes. Yeah. So what we did was we filmed one day with David. And after we did that, we put an assembly cut together, which we showed him as well as Jon, so that they could see the direction we wanted to go with the piece. I think that, this film could have very easily sort of it could have veered into after school special territory, and we didn't want that. And so we really wanted David to be comfortable with how we were helping him tell his story. I mean, I'm a big believer in this idea that if you're going to do a profile piece about someone, they need to be an active participant in the telling of their own story. I'm not like a to take the footage and run kind of filmmaker. So I viewed David very much like a collaborator in the process, and he did get to see an early assembly cut of the film. And when he did pass away during the course of production, we had already scheduled a shoot date with him and Jon together for the next month. So and I brought some footage with me to David Shiva, which is for anyone who doesn't know what a Shiva is, it's a period of mourning, and it's sort of a place where you go with a Jewish family, and you sit and you mourn the person who's gone. And I shared some of the interview footage with them that I had of David, where he was talking about how happy he was at the end, and I was ready to sort of give up the project at that point and just kind of let the family grieve and let them have their space. But they were very encouraging to me and my team to finish the project in any way we could. And so John kept the shoot date that we had scheduled. We just sort of switched around what we were doing that day. So.
Well, it's beautiful that you got to share at least the footage with the family, and you still got to work on this project which was still important to share. So, my next question for you is: was it difficult for even John Cryer to open up? Because you said he kept the shoot date, and knowing his friend wasn't there anymore. Did he have a hard time, or was he like ready to go and just say, "I'm ready to give all the details about this incredible friend I had"?
Yeah, I mean, going into shooting John's interview, I really wanted to obviously keep the focus on what this friendship meant to John. It was difficult. It was difficult for me. I mean, let me say this. I do think there is such a thing as getting too close to your subject. I think I definitely might have gotten too close to David. We became very, very close.
You became friends, and that happens even just with investigative journalists you just see from time to time, and so it's easy to get attached.
Yeah, and so I think it was harder for me in a way. But I think also one thing that I went into that shoot date with a pretty clear goal in mind, which was that I didn't want this to be all gloom and doom. It was about a month after David passed away. And I really wanted to imbue sort of this idea that we're celebrating this person's life. We're not necessarily memorializing this person right now. We're here to celebrate what he accomplished in his life and in getting sober and reconnecting with his friends and family, making amends. David was extremely committed to providing service, which is in program. That's giving service is just being there for others and helping them with their recovery journey. And I'm not an expert on recovery or addiction, but David taught me quite a lot about it, and I feel like it's a great testament to just what he was able to accomplish by the end of his life, and so the film I think it kind of speaks to that, and in terms of just interviewing John, he was extremely open, and I can't thank him enough for just giving a first-time director a chance. So I've made other short films, but this was my first time directing. So
yeah. But going off the bat, one thing that really stands out is at the end of the film, and it's how David expresses that AA saved his life, and he didn't want this to be a commercial for AA. And I thought that really stands out because it's just him as a person and his recovery and his friendship that stands out the most. So I applaud that for you as a filmmaker and telling that story and really presenting that to audiences. So as a first-time filmmaker, how did you feel? Were you nervous? Of course, is probably the first thing, but what did you learn as a person, as an artist from this experience?
Oh man, I mean, the project was life-changing for me. I think when I got into making, I've only made short films, so when I got into making short films, it was very much from this sort of drive in me to want to act, and I went to school for acting, so all the projects I've done have basically been vanity projects where I want to act, this is my story. And I've gotten a few of those out of my system, and something that I discovered making this documentary, which is my second doc, but one thing I discovered was that sometimes it's not about your story. It's about being open to discovering other stories that are out there that might be more interesting than anything you have to say. And so I think that if there was one thing I would want to say to any filmmakers like out there, be open to all stories. If even if it's not your own, because what David taught me about survival and perseverance and finding redemption and how it's never too late to ask for help. I think these are kind of universal themes that anyone could relate to. And when it comes to addiction, I'm not someone who's ever struggled with addiction, but I certainly know people who have. I think everyone has been impacted by addiction in some way. And so to be able to try to tell this story in this way has been, it's been life-changing, for me. And certainly being able to share this story with David's community and seeing the impact it's had on people who knew him. And now, going to a festival like Tribeca and being able to share it with the New York City community, a community that David was a part of his whole life, to see that it's also transcended from a personal piece to something that's universal is deeply fulfilling for me. So.
I was just going to ask you. So this is premiering at Tribeca, so you already answered that. So is there plans to take this to other film festivals?
Yeah, so Tribeca is our New York premiere. We've screened it around the country and over the last several months, and we've also we have our international premiere at Short Shorts Film Festival in Asia in Tokyo. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's happening at the same time as Tribeca, so I can't go. But they've been really lovely to us, and I mean, I love going to as many festivals as I can, so that I can meet other filmmakers, see what the other work that people are doing, and it's been a delight. I think that there are some filmmakers I've talked to who say that, like, oh, festivals are a waste of time, but I'm like, no, they're not.
It's a great way to express art and it gets people to see stuff that they may not get to see where it doesn't get distribution or not. So
well, it's a community,
and it's also a community. Yeah,
I get out of it. I've met just the most incredible people going to festivals and seeing other people's work and getting to know them, and all the people that I work with, I've met at film festivals. So I have very little patience for that attitude when I hear that. I think also when you're doing short films, there's really only a few places where those can live, and one of those places is at a film festival. So we're excited to be sharing it wherever we can.
Well, my final question for you is, what is next for you as an artist? Are you going to be directing another project, or are you going to be acting in another project? What is next for you?
We've started shooting my first feature, which is a documentary. So we've started filming that already. It's an artist profile about a friend of mine who's a stand-up comedian. I do some stand-up as well.
No way. That's cool.
He's much better than I am, so that's why I'm doing the film about him. But and it's sort of about his journey to his journey towards his first hour-long special. So we're doing that, and honestly, just enjoying this moment where we get to share David's story. That's I'm just sort of focused on getting this story out there, and really, delighted to be able to talk to you about it, and can't thank you enough for taking the time to talk about it with me.
Well, I'll just wrap it up and say thank you. I cannot wait to see what comes from you next. So take care. And I am so excited to let audiences see this interview more.
Thank you.
So I just want to thank Adam once again for taking the time out of his busy schedule to speak with me. It was a great honor, and I hope you all get to check out his short film. For now, like and subscribe to Film Fest Report and go check us out on our website. We will see you all next time. Bye.